All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Q&A session for the Developing Louisville Green Bank project. This is for RFP 250121. Just we'll go over a little bit of an agenda and I'll introduce myself. But mostly this is a QA session just for us to give you more information about the bid project itself and for you all to ask any questions to the evaluation team. This is a bid project for the Office of Sustainability. The project manager is Samita Raul. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Perfect. Uh, she is on the call here. I'm going to go over a couple of housekeeping things, just a little bit of information about the bid project, and then I'll turn it over to Dana Young. She's with the Human Relations Commission. She'll go over the GFE requirements. And then lastly, I'll send it over to the evaluation team with the Office of Sustainability and Sameta. So, to start off with, my name is Alan Cunningham. I'm the procurement analyst for Louisville Metro Procurement Office, OMB. I'm sure you all have seen my name all over the bid project. I'm the guy who's set everything up on the bonfire, and if you have any questions or issues or any technical issues with bonfire, feel free to email me or give me a call. I'll be able to help you out with that. Just a couple of things. On this bid project, there's a few important dates. The last day for questions is December 2nd, which I believe is right when we come back from Thanksgiving. Please submit all the questions that you need by that time. If you have any questions after that time, we'll continue to take them. It's just if you want a response in a timely manner before the end of the bid submission date, please submit it by that time. And you can submit those questions either through email, through me. You can send it onto the bonfire module. There's a questioning panel there. And we'll put all those together and put them out as an addendum for the bid project in Bonfire. Another important date is the submission due date itself. The submissions are due on December 11th at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Do not wait until the last minute. If you wait 5 till that time and for some reason your web page starts refreshing and you get locked out or something, and you don't submit it by 3 o'clock, you will not be able to do a bid after that. So once again, don't wait till the last minute. But if you do run into any technical issues or if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be able to help you out with that. Outside of that, just try to submit everything that's requiring of you in the bid specifications. If you've done work with us in the past, don't assume that we already know what your proposal looks like. Just assume that you're a completely different vendor and submit everything that we're asking in the specifications. That's kind of it on my part. Is there any questions about the bonfire or bidding process that anybody may have before I turn it over to Dana? And if you have questions, feel free to submit them on the chat function too if you don't want to unmute. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to you, Dana. She's with Human Relations Commission. Just briefly introduce yourself and go over the GFE process.
Good morning. My name is Dana Young. I am with the Human Relations Commission. I am a compliance analyst, and we over here evaluate the GFE. As you're doing your GFE, if you need certified minority, women, disabled businesses, please contact me through my email and let me know what kind of work you're looking for, and I'll look it up on our database and see if we have anybody and send you their information. If you are on the GFE, if you are not using subcontractors, there's a box on there for self-perform. It's next to a red all. Check that box. Nothing goes in the subcontractor thing down there. And then scroll to the bottom and make sure you print, sign, and date. that first page. And if you're using subcontractors, make sure you complete the second page in the same manner. And if you have any issues, just contact me.
I would like to reiterate that GFE forms are required for all bid proposals. Please sign and date everything. If you do not submit a GFE form by 3 o'clock by the bid submission due date, you will not be considered. So please do not bypass that. Dana's an awesome resource for this, and she'll be able to help you out with any questions or if you're looking for any businesses to subcontract with. Thanks, Dana. All right, so now I'm going to pass it over to you, Samantha. Just go ahead and introduce your team and whatever your scope of work and specifications in general, what you need. And then we'll follow up with questions.
All right, thank you, Ellen, and thank you everybody for hopping on today. Really appreciate everybody's time and interest in this. So my name is Sumedha Rao, and I serve as the Executive Director for the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. My teammate, Jacob Medley, is also here on this call, as well as my colleague, Katie Littman, who is with the Mayor's Office as well. So we are interested in establishing a Louisville Green Bank, as you might have gleaned from the proposal. Just to give you some background on the scope of work and how we got to this point. Our office leads the sustainability goals for the city, which includes achieving 100% clean energy and net zero emissions by 2040. And a big part of our emissions is the building sector. We have noticed that there is a gap in financing available to be able to help make that transition to make buildings greener and more sustainable. When it comes to policy, Kentucky has a relatively ancient building code that also does not offer a lot of, policy or sticks that to make progress on that front. So incentives are something that we rely on. We have administered through our office a Cool Roof Incentive Program, EPAD, which is our local PACE program, or Property Assessed Clean Energy is what it's called in other parts of the country, and a Solarized Louisville program, which is essentially discounted solar panels. So earlier this year, as some of you may be aware, the EPA released a large grant opportunity called the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund that established national green banks to make more financing accessible for especially low-income and disadvantaged communities, but also property developers of all kinds to be able to invest in more clean energy, energy efficiency, and more resilient infrastructure overall and sustainable infrastructure. We have been tracking the progress with that opportunity and connecting with some of the grantees and trying to figure out how we can position Louisville well to be able to receive some of that funding. And we did a lot of work earlier this year for some grants that we ourselves applied to as well, to establish that there is a lot of interest and a lot of need for this kind of financing in the community. We applied for a grant that unfortunately we did not receive, but it was to help capitalize this green bank. And it was what we found through that process is we had over 100 stakeholders respond to requests for project pipelines, and basically demonstrated that they had over $1 billion in projects that were already in the pipeline that, given more green financing, could be made into a more sustainable project. So that basically told our team that there is a lot of interest. We always knew that the need was established, but it's also great to know that there is a lot of interest in the community and a lot of people that would be willing to participate in these kinds of financing options. Parallelly, Katie Littman, who's on here, has helped with leading an economic development strategy plan for the city. And one of the outcomes of that was to also do a follow-up study on the development finance ecosystem in Louisville. And there's a report from CDFA that was published that kind of outlines what the different development finance agencies are and what the recommendation is for kind of consolidating and coordinating between those agencies. That report has been attached to the RFP as well, but we're hoping to kind of learn from that report, build on that, but also think specifically and more deeply about what green finance looks like. How do we make sure that it is equitable, that it is reaching the communities that need the help the most, that are also achieving the goals of catalyzing more sustainable infrastructure in the city. So the scope of work is essentially having a consultant work with us to convene all of the partners that would be relevant to this, whether it's development finance agencies, environmental groups, community partners, the markets we're trying to serve, the developer groups, and understand what's out there in terms of opportunities, what challenges there are, and help us design a business plan essentially for how do we structure this green bank, how does it work, what kinds of products and services does it offer, and for that to be able to inform our future investments. So you'll notice that the timeline feels maybe a little bit expedited, and the reason for that is that we would love to have some kind of initial capitalization ask in the next budget cycle. So our fiscal year is July to June, and but then the mayor makes his official budget address around February or March. So the goal is to be able to get some kind of educated estimate to him as early as possible when we launch this project, but to be able to substantiate that by the time we get to council hearings and such, so that we are setting this up for success through the budget process. What else? So our office is kind of serving as the lead project manager, but we are working very closely with economic development, the Louisville Economic Development Alliance, CDFIs, banks, community partners, and others. We've kind of been having conversations all year, and we'll be, of course, helping to identify those local partners and bring them to the table. And helping identify the goals of the project. So that's kind of a high level overview. Jake and Katie, if you would like to add anything else, feel free to jump in. And if not, we can take some questions.
I think you covered everything, but excited just to see what people submit and to get this rolling.
Nothing to add from me. Good overview submitted.
Thank you both. All right, any questions? And for those of you who may have joined a bit late, please feel free to put your name, company, and email in the chat, just so that we can make sure to send you any follow-up information and get you on the Bonfire platform.
Hey, maybe just a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry, this may be more for Dana. Just on the local vendor preference, I think it was 0.1322. I saw there was a note around a 5-point addition for using a local vendor. Does that include if you use a subcontractor that's a local vendor?
So the local vendor preference is based on the primary contractor. That is only to give you bid preferences for only the primary contractor on this bid project. It doesn't have anything to do with the GFE process, specifically with Dana. So as long as you have a office within the Jefferson County metro statistical area, you should be good to take that preference. Please note that somewhere in either your information and signature page or somewhere else in the bid proposal for me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Chuck Miller. I love with Attorney Advisors for economic consulting firm. Thank you all for your presentation and for setting up this time for us to interact with you. My question is a follow-up on what Sumeda shared about the Metro Government's application for GGRF funds, and I wanted to confirm that I heard correctly that you applied for funding, not receive it. And I was curious if I understood that correctly, whether you could share any reasons that you know of why you might not have received the funding?
Yes, absolutely. Good question. So the GGRF, as you know, was composed of 3 grants: the Solar for All, the National Clean Investment Accelerator, I think, and the National Clean Investment Fund, and the Community Clean Communities Investment Accelerator. A lot of acronyms: NCIF, CCIA, and SFA. So the NCIF and the CCIA were intended to create National Green Bank, so we did not directly apply for those. However, we did support the application of one of the grantees, and we've kind of continued to reach out to and build some relationships with some of the grantees and kind of start to learn what they're looking for. And actually, on that note, one of the grantees of the National Green Bank funding has specifically indicated to us that, we had told them that we have a pipeline of projects that would be very interested in this financing, but rather than lending to individual projects across the country, they're interested in doing a larger loan to a regional green bank that can then build out a local pipeline and support those projects. So that's also one of the important reasons why we are trying to create like a regional entity that can be a receptacle for some of this funding from national entities and then distribute that locally. We applied for Solar for All. We scored very high, but we did not ultimately win that because the EPA was prioritizing larger geographies, so the state application won. And but the good thing is the state, we had advocated for it to be a statewide application. So ultimately, the state has $162.5 million as part of that grant. And there is some opportunity for us to be able to receive a sub-grant potentially. We aren't fully sure of their plans yet, but there could be some funding that comes through the SFA as well that could feed the Green Bank. And then we applied for a separate grant called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant from the EPA to establish and capitalize the Green Bank. And that one we did not get. It was just a very competitive grant. And I think that I don't know, we did not receive that for reasons that lots of people don't receive grants, I guess. But we did score pretty well on that one as well. And we were told that it was aligned with EPA's goals and the plan looked good, but it was just a very competitive grant. So a lot of the work that we have done so far was in conjunction with that proposal. So we already have some engagement and some conversations that have taken place that can be built on for this process. I hope that was helpful.
There's also another question in the chat function from Matthew with WSP. Samantha, can you indicate which grantee Louisville has aligned with?
Yeah, so we submitted a support letter and probably have the closest relationship with the Coalition for Green Capital. But we have also reached out to other grantees of the GGRS funds and had kind of similar positive conversations with them as well. Yes, but the CGC is most involved. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other questions?
So back on the topic of the good faith efforts, you said that the local vendor preference is only for the primary contractor. For the good faith effort that has a 15% requirement for women-owned, I believe 5% for minority-owned, and 0.5% for disabled person-owned businesses. Do those subcontractors have to be based in the county, or could they be based anywhere else in Kentucky or the country?
They just have to be one of our certified vendors, and that comes from our certified vendor list. That is, and I'll put the website on there because it's a searchable database. If you just scroll down the page and go down to search certified vendors, put in information, put in the job type, the information you're looking for, the business description, with whatever you're looking for, and that goes in there. And you first press search and it'll pop up everything you need, how to get in contact with them.
There was another question. March 13th, is the March 13th deadline for the deliverables after January 10th project kickoff a hard deadline, or is there some flexibility there?
I mean, I think it's definitely flexible. You know, once the selection is made, we can talk about maybe specific concerns about the timeline that are there. But I think that the idea is that we are trying to get a budget ask and then a plan to back up that ask during the budget cycle, and that's why that deadline is there. So we can certainly be a little flexible in terms of what's the key information we need in order to get that through, maybe with some deliverables needing a little more time. But yeah, it's not a hard deadline, but that is a critical timeline just because we're trying to align with the budget process.
Could you, I didn't see a project budget in the RFP itself. Is there a target amount or not to exceed amount that Metro has for this project that bidders should consider?
Not particularly. I think that, you know, if you would like to come up with, I think we've asked for an hourly and a not to exceed from applicants. We can kind of get back to you, I think, before, once we do select like the top contractor, there is some opportunity to negotiate if that number needs to go up or down, but we haven't set a specific limit as of yet.
And then a follow-up question to that, because there is a 10, I think 10 points from the scoring are based on the cost proposal evaluation. I didn't see any more details on what that entails. And so if we don't really know the range and we'll propose something based on what we think is needed to complete this project, how are you going to score that when you're evaluating proposals?
The cost proposal evaluation is just based on the amount that the applicants apply for. This is just a baseline estimation of what we're looking for. I do understand that during negotiation that could go up or down a little bit, but we want to kind of see an estimation of what it'll cost us and where that cost is coming from. That's why it's such a low amount of just 10 points. So it is just a base estimation. And the way that it's evaluated is whoever puts the lowest amount will get the full 10 points. And then it's relative from there, from whoever's more expensive. If it's just like 10% more expensive, then the next person will get 9 points, and then 8 points, so on and so forth from there.
Yeah, and that is a factor that will be considered along with the rest of the proposal, and it won't be the sole determining factor. So, you know, we haven't done a study exactly like this before, so we did not want to set a limit that was off base. So we're definitely open to kind of seeing what people come back with and then having a conversation and adjusting scope as needed based on that as well. Yeah.
I would also add that the main goal of that evaluation is mostly so we don't see like a $2 million project and from everybody we'll go, hey, that's way over budget. We need to talk about this. So it's this bit is mostly qualifications. All right. Okay, is there any other questions from anybody? Feel free to chime in on the chat function.
Yeah, feel free to jump in with your questions, I guess, until others come up.
Okay, great. Yes, but yeah, appreciate the opportunity to ask a few questions and great to get to know more about what you're thinking so we can prepare something that's really tailored to what you need. So do you, Samantha, I think you mentioned a little bit about some studies that you've already done about the needs that the city has and then the county has. And I'm curious if you already have in mind, as hypotheses, potential, products or projects that the Green Bank would fund, and whether those are only in the building space or whether you would envision also funding for, small businesses that work in the green economy and in other things like households and businesses, like how you're thinking about the types of products and the beneficiaries and borrowers, et cetera.
Yeah, great question. So I think that, we're definitely going to prioritize the type of projects that the GGRF funds are going to prioritize, because that is going to be our main initial source of funding, at least. So that would mostly be building energy efficiency and clean energy, and targeted to environmental justice areas, low-income residents, and those types of projects. However, we've also identified that there is a huge need in the commercial sector, and with larger, like infrastructure projects like sewer and, city buildings and things like that, which is why like a city bonding type of agency might also be a great fit. I think part of the thing we need to figure out during this study is to see where it makes the most sense to maybe begin, especially given the type of funding that's immediately available. And that might end up being more low-income residential focused or small business focused, and then maybe expanding to other types of infrastructure. But that is just our initial perception from conversations we've had and what we're learning about funding opportunities. But we definitely want to have a deeper conversation about that. Yeah.
Sorry, could you say the last part again? I didn't fully catch it. What is the two focus areas that you mentioned?
Oh, just I think residential might be, that's just on my guess, is that low-income residential might be a focus for energy efficiency, and clean energy might be the focus, just because we're seeing that some of the National Green Bank funding is focused on those types of projects. But there is need across all sectors, so we want to be mindful of making the right choice there. Yeah.
Another question is whether you've already had conversations with, the city council, and I don't know if there's the city attorney's office or equivalent office around their position on creating a green bank, since in other jurisdictions we've seen that, a lot of the obstacles can come, especially from the legal side. And so there's like what role the Metro's legal division has had in this project so far.
Yeah, so we haven't talked to any policymakers yet about this. I think the hope is to have a more concrete plan so that we can kind of answer questions more educatedly. This is still early stages, so they're aware we've put out, public calls for, this RFP is a public request, and we've had a lot of public conversations about green finance. So I think, they're definitely are aware that this is happening, but we haven't had any direct conversations about supporting a budget ask or legislation or anything like that. I think that would be something to think about as we develop a plan.
All right. Any other questions?
I guess one last question for me, sorry, I've been monopolizing this, but based on the earlier conversation about budget, is there an existing budget line that's allocated to this project that would, fund it?
So for the study, yes, the office has some budget amount to complete the study. For actual Green Bank capitalization, that is not determined yet. I think that's what we're hoping to kind of figure out in the first quarter of next year to be able to inform what the ask would be for the next year. So I mean, the mayor's aware that this is a project that's going to come with an ask. So the idea is to just get him an estimate as early as possible to inform as he's developing the budget for the next fiscal year. Oh yeah, the study budget, yes. Yeah, there is there isn't a specific line item for this study, but it's coming out of the Office of Sustainability's general budget that has allowance for contracting for studies and different other programs.
For your question about the meeting summary recap, I will post on the bonfire a mention that the meeting has been conducted along with the sign-in sheet. If you want access to either the meeting recording, you can email me and I can send that out to you. I won't put it on the bonfire notification itself. But yeah.
Yes, we agree. It's an exciting project indeed. So thank you all so much for your interest. We're happy to see so many of you on here. Please feel free to reach out as you work on your applications if there's any other questions that come up.
Thank you for Samita. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. If you have any other questions, just either submit them on Bonfire or send them over to me and we'll get those responded to. Just a quick reminder that the submission due date is December 11th. So we'll be on the lookout for everybody. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Have a good day and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too. Bye.